Mike's on. That way we can hear
Cue the
Tim
microphone.
complain. We want to be able to hear you complain, Tim. Do you need an agenda?
I got it.
Okay.
I just stood up because you want to do the pledge, right?
Yep, stand up. All right, let's have our pledge, please.
Go ahead, read it. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. Let's do a quick roll call. If you could just state your name to the mic, starting with John.
John Goodennis present.
David Mills present.
Fred Cuthbertson present.
Tim Easter's here.
Linda Fredericks here.
City Planner Fiorelli here.
Thank you. All right. Any public comments? I don't see anybody online and nobody here. So we don't have the minutes to last meeting, but that's
Make a motion.
So I appreciate that.
Do those next month.
I'll make a quick moment. I make a quick mention of what we're doing here quickly. Starting next month, we're moving to Teams. Teams, those recordings are going to be available for full viewing on the website. And we will have a summary printout of those minutes that come directly from Teams. So that's now automated. So you'll have that to read. Most importantly, I will be providing every single public body, so Planning Commission, City Council, with a 1, maybe 2-page summary of the actions that are taken. So rather than a 10, 15-page document of minutes that you're sort of pouring through and trying to read the tea leaves from, you have the recording, that is the actual meeting. Anybody, including the public, can go back and watch that. And you all get the real, just quick snapshot of what's happened before and what's happening.
Are we still going to approve and sign the minutes and all that?
Yes, but what it'll be is just that 2-page, that summary
Oh,
that says,
summary.
these are the actions you took.
Right.
This is what we're
So it
doing.
won't be a.
That's all we've been getting anyways.
Yeah.
2
It-
page.
Yeah, I like
Well,
that
except for
summary.
council, we've been having
Well,
staff up till
council.
now, like spend 10 hours after every meeting just to write out the minutes. So we're not doing
100
that.
pages is ridiculous.
That's
But
exactly right.
but
So that was also a question. Are you all comfortable with that?
Microsoft Teams instead of Zoom.
Google, like Google Meet.
They're all the same
Similar.
flavor, basically, same
I-
type of thing.
I prefer Teams over Zoom. Seems like all the people like they.
Maybe aren't familiar with it, just kind of go over it real quick.
That's exactly right. So you actually nailed it. At the work session, I'll be showing people how it works. And the first meeting where we implement it is going to be at that city council meeting following that.
Perfect. And I like Teams. It's
somebody's on.
Yeah, we have a member of the public, just a note. I don't know if you wanted to circle back and see if they have any comments or. if we're
Kim,
past
we
that.
just noticed you popped up. Identifies you as Kim. Do you have any public comments? Are you able to hear us? Is that video? I see video slashed out. Is
Yep,
that-
you're right. It keeps on going out for whatever reason. About every 15 minutes, you'll see that turn itself off.
Okay,
Thank you.
I don't see
Nope.
her raising a hand or.
The
Okay,
camera's goofy.
she might just be.
Sing for us, Fred.
All right. Kim, if you can hear us, thank you for joining. If you have a comment, we'd love to hear from you. All right, so you kind of want to take off with this Envision Monroe.
Is carry forward from sort of where we left off with our last joint session.
Yeah.
Y'all know that we've got a moratorium coming up. And as a result, this body will have no development applications in front of it for the duration of that moratorium. So how do we utilize our time the best? Rather than sending you all home for a year or 2 years, I think there's a lot that we should roll up our sleeves and get to doing. In my efforts here with the city so far, I've been turning over every stone and trying to see what needs to get done. And a lot of that is with my planner hat on. And I look at the comprehensive plan, I look at the development code. I notice that there's some opportunities, some low-hanging fruit, and some issues that need to be addressed. And I see that we have touring coming in, so I'll just wait a moment.
Awesome.
Good afternoon, sir.
That guy.
Anyone left? Oh, yeah. Turn on your mic. Thank you very much.
Thorn Nielsen, present.
Kristen Strand, present.
Awesome. We got a full crew tonight.
We do indeed. Touring.
Yeah.
And I noticed whoever made that.
Torin, yeah.
That's
Yeah,
right.
I know, but I see I see an H on your name tag.
It is. It's just not pronounced.
Torin, yeah, H is
Kind of like
silent.
Thomas.
It is like Thomas.
Just like Thomas.
It's just like Thomas. isn't it?
Well done.
So I don't need to correct
Without the
anything.
H,
You don't, no,
Tomas.
it's,
I'm so sorry.
it's nuts, Torin with an H, yep.
Well, see, I stick my foot in my mouth here. Okay, so what I was just talking about was really why we're doing an Envision Monroe process. And this really comes down to the fact that we have a moratorium that we're implementing.
Mhm.
And then I just talked a little bit about all the stones I've been overturning since I started here as city administrator and city planner. Some of the real easy stuff to see is that there's some misalignment between the comprehensive plan and the development code. That's something that we should, as a body, really address and make sure they're in agreement and make the necessary changes. But while we're doing that, there's a lot of other stuff that's probably really important. And so for the benefit of the public, I'm really just going to kind of read from here. I want to leave this document with you because this is really setting forth the plan that we're going to kick off next month. So what I want to do today is talk about high level goals, objectives, loose timeline. So from the top, really what I'm saying is that we're preparing to implement a development moratorium. And you all will lead an Envision Monroe project to revisit the city's long-range vision and to prepare for future growth. So the process will be to review and update the comprehensive plan, the land use code, the transportation system plan, and other related documents. So that would include the Parks Master Plan in collaboration with the Parks Committee, for example. It will also explore opportunities for all the things that the 19 statewide planning goals touch on. So housing, economic development, parks, multimodal connectivity. So people who want to walk and bike around all vehicles, green stormwater infrastructure. We'll talk a lot about that too as we move forward and get into the wastewater in particular. The goal here is to culminate in a capital improvement plan and revisions to the land use code and comprehensive plan that we find are necessary. And then really start to identify what the investments the city needs to make are going to be. So the role of the Planning Commission. You will lead the Envision Monroe process on behalf of the community. We'll meet quarterly with the City Council in joint sessions to review progress and provide direction. That's part of what we'll talk about tonight, is scheduling out that cadence. And we talked about that at our last joint session, by the way. That was what came directly out of that meeting. We'll coordinate with all of our committees, parks, economic development, and other advisory bodies that either exist or that we might recommend should exist and that will come out of council. And what we'll also do is we'll make a concerted effort to truly engage with the public to ensure that these plans reflect the priorities of our business community, of our residents, and of folks who have been here for a really long time as well. We want to make sure that it fits with Monroe's unique character, but also that we're planning for the future, sustainable, intelligent, smart growth. So why does this matter? This is going to maximize the time that we have under the moratorium by preparing the city for growth once this infrastructure upgrade and all these changes are done and out of the way. It's going to provide clarity for residents and developers and businesses on what the future opportunities are going to be. It'll create a unified vision for land use and for infrastructure and for parks and transportation. Currently, we don't have that. We have lots of different documents that have been developed with different ideas, but this is going to be our first true effort to seam them together. And also, this is going to position Monroe for funding. And it's going to help us align what our goals and projects and plans are with the specific projects from the capital improvement plan that we're going to be developing with dollar signs. And that's going to help us make the argument for the funding. So the planning commission preparation schedule. So what I'd like to recommend is that we have our first kickoff joint meeting in November. That's 3 months from the last one that we just had at the end of August. And what I'd like to recommend is that this body uses its next meetings to prepare those goals, objectives, and deliverables to set forth in front of the city council, get their buy-in, make sure the city council is aware of the cadence, make any necessary changes, and then get this thing rolling. The recommendation that I have in September 2025 is orientation and framing. That's really where we come back and talk about, or what we're talking about right now, essentially. Review project's purpose, the moratorium timeline, and the commission's role. Identify priority themes. Some of the things I'd like to pull out of this discussion today is housing, parks, infrastructure. What are the things that matter to y'all? What are the things that we know that we want to address throughout this process? High level stuff. We don't want to get in the weeds yet. And then as a deliverable, what I'll be coming back to you next month with is an orientation packet and a list of initial themes and issues that we'll be able to work from. In October, I'm recommending that we look at draft goals and objectives. So we start attaching details to those timelines. We review examples of comprehensive plans and capital improvement plans from peer cities. And I have a number of cities that I would like to put in front of you. If you have cities that you'd like to look at or cities that you just know about, those are good to recommend. I want to make sure we get a good subset of peers to look at. And then we'll draft 5 to 7 broad goals with supporting objectives next month. Again, we're still in sort of the sausage making phase. And then in November, we'll want to draft a strategy and presentation prep. So this gets us ready for that city council meeting that we'll be having a few weeks after that, to refine and prioritize the goals and objectives, to assign some commissioner leads. So once we have identified topic areas, these are big, wide-ranging topics, every one of them. I'd like each of you to think about which ones do you want to dive into the most. Y'all are going to be making decisions on all of these things, but is there an area that you're really interested in that you could help lead this group through when we get to that topic? And then what we'll do is prepare a presentation for joint meeting. And the deliverables there would be the draft goals and objectives framework, plus the handout or slides that we'd be presenting to council. And then you can see we move on into our Q1 kickoff and visioning. And I've really identified what the next couple of quarters would look like. So this is really high level and sort of wide ranging. There's lots of different things we could do with those. So I've kept that broad. So I wanted to stop here and open it for discussion, feedback, comments. Do you want to tweak this timeline? Are there things we're missing? What do we got?
Is the council good with these dates?
We will be bringing these to the council. So the council is going to be reviewing this as a work session.
Well, I know what you guys did last time. You had a work session before council meeting. And they don't always go as short as what you had last time. And are they good with this?
This council is going to be giving us the nod or a change to at the next work session.
Okay.
So my goal is to tell them at the next work session, planning commission prepared these recommendations.
I like that.
I
think-
I like less meetings, but you shouldn't jam them in 4-hour sessions either.
Yeah. Are we looking at another meeting in September for this?
No, what I mean by that is that's that's this meeting right now.
Okay,
And taking place during the month.
That's taking place right now.
The rest of these tasks during this month.
Exactly. So what I'll be developing for you after this meeting is an orientation packet and a list of initial themes.
So let me just make sure that, so one of the things that we're up against is, we gotta have this improvement of the water plant. But part of that is also gonna be having a good CIP, capital improvement plan. And so we need to make sure that what our goals and objectives are aligned with
Right.
rationalizing the capital improvement plan. So that's why in November, when we have this joint meeting, hopefully we will have identified some direction of where we want to go or what we want to see. And then that way we can start it, because really the moratorium kicks off in November, right?
Yeah, that's what
So,
we
so
expect.
that's kind of the critical point, because hopefully, because we only got 26 months to act on it, unless we don't enact the moratorium and we wait another. But ideally, what's going to happen is November is going to kick off. We get 26 months, and so you have to have a capital improvement plan to get the funding, and then and then there's going to be bids and everything else. So it's going to be a lengthy process that we need to jump on. So that's, am I close to where we're?
You're nailing it. So what I'm doing is I'm really creating a structure for us to get there.
Yeah, and so that's what we're going to be doing. So
So
that
you
when
just
our
mentioned water treatment plant,
both,
sewer and water.
Sewer and water.
and it may also involve parks, because we may need to do the pedestrian bridge as part of our project. I mean, there's a lot of,
All in 26 months.
one of the things that we look at is we got to get across that river
Or under it.
or under it. And there's complications on both, but we also, we don't know what the funding future is going to look like, but we could really, if we can, from a safety standpoint, for egress, getting across the bridge, number one, you've already identified that as a problem. We're going to need to be able to get water and sewer across the river. And so the bridge might be the best thing to solve all those problems and join the park. And so there's a lot of things you might as well shoot for the moon and then find out that we need to scale back.
So looking at the CIP goals, are we talking broad citywide, or are we talking specifically for the moratorium, the reasons we're getting a moratorium?
Thanks, good question. It's the former. We're going to look at broad citywide long-term. And our goal is to rank them by priority based on which project is going to unlock the most number of housing units or economic development potential. And then present that to city council with those recommendations from planning commission. And that'll be a back and forth.
Yeah, because we know that streets need to be improved. There's a lot of
Yeah.
impact in the community.
But like you said, rank them.
Yeah,
right.
so you're right though. So it's streets, it's sidewalks. It is water and wastewater extensions that would allow for development to our future urban reserve lands. When we expand the UGB, we now have reserve lands. How do we get infrastructure there in the future? That would be a long time down the road. So lower on the CIP list.
Right, exactly.
And as far as parks go too, because that's one thing that we've heard over and over and over again is we've only got one real decent park and we need more. We need something on this side of.
I wouldn't send my kid over there.
No, I won't,
And
I
I've
don't.
said that before,
Right,
time and
right.
time again.
It's really dangerous.
That's why we need to look at, and the parks will look at that. I'm sure the parks are going to be working on that.
Yes. And so my goal, it's really kind of
Water
like
sewer Plant over there, what's there over there?
it's really a choreographed sort of ballet between all of these different groups. I'll be making sure that the committees are providing information to planning commission, that planning commission has valuable information from those committees to then take and make recommendations to city council, and then making sure we're hitting our timeline. So we're getting the funding and technical pieces done also. So I'm gonna be weaving this stuff together, all of the bodies together at one time.
It also, I think it helps that at least he and I are on the Parks Committee already, though we haven't met for
Yeah.
a year or something. So
I do know that,
That's coming up.
I do know, yeah, I know that there's, I can't remember her name now, but she's all over helping to rewrite the plan. And then gonna meet.
Williams, isn't it?
Carolyn,
Williams, Carol,
Counselor
yeah, I'm
Williams,
sorry,
yes.
yeah. But I know that she's, at the end of the last meeting, she was talking about how she's about got it buttoned up.
Exactly right.
I clearly see that the planning process in parallel with the engineering assessment that'll prioritize engineering work. And they'll be informing each other, but we need to get the planning process kind of in line because it brings it all together. The last time we did that was in 2019 and they were all done piecemeal. happened outside the parks and the park and the comprehensive plan was a scramble to get done.
Yeah.
But they might offer good starting points.
Absolutely true.
If this is what we talked about in 2019, does it still make sense today? Do we modify it, do we add to it? Rather than trying to start just with a clean slate, we have some basis to start with. But even the comprehensive plan, with the acceptance of the Riverside District Master Plan, that language never got incorporated into the comprehensive plan. So
Exactly.
You have to go two different places to see what the plan is. So
Yep.
It'd be nice to see that all pulled together and see the documents.
Absolutely.
One of the big things with that 2019 is we had, usually, I think they said our growth would be about 2%,
Right.
and we went up 15, 20% all in 1 year. But then, you know, we got introduced the SDC charges, and we thought, oh man, we got all this money coming in, we're gonna be able to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
Well, that was a real downer because we can't use it for nothing.
Until you have a CIP.
Because we had no CIP plan
Right.
Well,
to use it.
and who knew that?
We did not.
We're solving that now.
Oh, 6 years after the fact.
Well, better late than never.
Yeah,
I
we-
like to say you can never look in the rearview mirror.
Oh, I know, I realize that,
You can look
but
ahead of you. It's a much bigger window.
Hindsight is 2020.
This is true. Fair enough.
And one thing you brought up too is comparing some other cities. I want to make sure that we're comparing successful cities. You know, we've got some cities around us
Yeah,
that are in the
what's your
same boat
initial
we're in
list? You have a
because
list?
they're also struggling. So find cities that have been highly successful with their plans and what are their, what do they do?
There's a few types of cities that I would like to introduce you to. One is a city that has been through it and is now back out on the other side, and they've experienced everything we're about to experience. That's one type of city I'd like to bring to this.
One of those?
Coburg. Coburg's one of them.
Mhm.
Another city that I'd like to put in front of you is a city that's been doing it well all the way along. So this would be a much larger city, but they've got their things together. They can teach us a little bit about how a city that has all of those functions already built in is doing it. And then I'd like to bring a city who is really, really, really small and trying to get to where we want to be at some point in time. What can we learn from them, thinking back to where we were at the point they are now? And also, are there opportunities or things that they're thinking about that might be helpful for us as we grow? And then just recommendations from folks, like Junction City is a great city to bring in. They're currently under a moratorium. And so they're dealing with this right now. Harrisburg is currently building 2 treatment plants. And they've received some funding to do that. And I've been working with Michelle to understand that better.
They're building what?
2
treatment
treatment
plants.
plants.
Treatment. plants.
Yep, so they're doing a big, large infrastructure project, and their big issue is the rivers cutting into the land that they're building their treatment plant on right now. So they have a long time, but not really in the scheme of things before that water comes right up to them, which is scary.
Yeah, we lived on the river and we lost 5 acres in the 7 years we were there.
Wow,
Lord.
That's
that's a lot.
River can change a lot in just 1 year.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
We lost a whole forest, gone.
Yeah.
Wow.
Not much
Thankfully,
you can do about it.
we won't have that problem in Monroe. But what I want to do is start identifying cities that we want to bring.
Are there other cities that other people have in mind and these are Oregon cities that,
The normal ones come to mind that are.
Sisters
Yeah,
came up
Adair.
many times, but I don't know how well they're doing anymore.
Well, and I think they're a different type of city than
different.
us. I don't think that.
Yeah,
I know, but there was,
26 to Central Oregon, they got traffic up, well, not saying
Well,
we
when
don't
you
have
look at,
traffic, but
when you look at Coburg and Sisters and things like that, they've got a draw.
they have a theme
They have a theme and a
and
draw.
it works for them.
Coburg is an antique center,
And it's
Sisters is
it's an old
shop
town. They
center.
have a lot of nice old buildings, a few here and there. And like I said,
Interesting
Are
thing,
we more like Fanita?
we are more like Finita, absolutely. I agree with you, because you have the places like Sisters or Mount Angel. is another good example. For planners, we can talk a little bit about planning nerding terms. There's something called form-based codes, where they make you use the same font and the same color and the same facade and design for everything, and it's part of their economic development team.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not very much like them.
Mm,
well, and I don't know if we need to be.
Yeah.
Personally, I don't know if I,
But then let us also step away from economic development and just talk about the nuts and bolts of infrastructure. When we talk about infrastructure and moratoriums, at the end of the day, cities are at really kind of the same. People are gonna flex toilets, pipe needs to be the right size. It really is going to be the same.
Looking at the calendar, the kickoff on November 24th, that's Thanksgiving weekend, or week, rather, that Monday.
Oh, you're right.
Well, if that's a good. I know, it's not a big deal.
November and December have always been a problem child.
Yeah.
I know, but
all these
that's
meetings.
Thanksgiving week and
And
that's
then
a tough.
I'm thinking about
Cancel-
doing it on the
cancel
city council
Thanksgiving.
meeting.
That's what we've
Or
always
have it
done.
here. We'll do
Cancel.
both. Can we do a joint Thanksgiving
Join to
and
bring the
meeting?
turkey.
I want prime rib.
This joint meeting will tack on to this city council meeting, just like we did last time. So if city council moves it because of the holiday,
Then
y'all can comment about your availability and we'll nail it down.
Okay. I know that, and it's not a big deal. I know that is not gonna work for me on the 24th.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't think
that
that'll
might
work
be-
for a lot of people. Now that you
Yeah.
bring that up, that makes a lot of sense.
Did the schools have that whole week off?
Monroe doesn't, but like I have it off in Eugene,
Right.
but
A
no.
lot of
Monroe
districts take that
doesn't.
whole week, I know.
It's, yeah, a lot of.
So what I'd like to do, thank you for that. Any other comments about the calendar?
I think the calendar looks great. It's gonna require a lot of work on our
Gonna
part.
push us.
You know, but we got the timeline. It makes sense to really push on this.
Yeah.
Might be some. Absolutely.
Next month, I'm going to bring a presentation to talk about the 19 statewide planning goals and how they really speak to the things that we're doing. How many folks are very familiar with the 19 statewide planning goals? Okay, good. So this is going to be an opportunity for us to really dig down both into policy as well as the strategy. Wall is, what are the main topics as planning commissioners that you care about? If you think about the opportunity to envision our city, what is it that you think should be in that discussion?
Well, the thing that's always been from an economic development standpoint. We have 8,500 cars passing through our town every single day. How do we get more of those cars to stop and spend money here, which would provide more jobs here, which would provide more resources for us, because the more demand you have here, then the more we could probably attract, a raise or some sort of supermarket or a gas station or some things that people have been crying years about.
Absolutely.
I would echo too that so basically, in addition to just retail business, what other kinds of job, even just small kind of industry can be attracted here so that there can be jobs, local jobs that people can just walk to rather than be driving all the way, to Eugene.
Well,
Corvallis or
so-
Eugene, yeah.
So maybe I'm speaking out of turn, but when you bring that up, I instantly think of, and I just look at this map in front of you, you can count on one hand who owns all the commercial property on Highway 99.
Yep.
And if those people aren't wanting to develop or actively soliciting development from outside sources, then what comes first?
What
chicken or-
leverage?
Yeah, what leverage or what comes first, chicken or egg on that? You
So
know, I mean,
one thing that we've talked about this a little bit in the past, but I think we haven't discussed it in length, is finding ways to use our zoning to be very clear to developers that we're not wishy-washy at all, but that it's very clear that we're trying to encourage a certain kind of commercial development specifically, so that there are new buildings that are available and properties that are available to buy that don't exist right now, that are
Question.
created for those
Go ahead.
uses.
Go ahead.
So along that theme,
Mhm.
would it be proactive for the city to reach out to those? I mean, the city obviously knows who the landowners are, to reach out to those landowners and maybe just ask a couple simple questions like, you own this property. What are your plans with the property? What would entice you to develop the property or something like that? Would that be something? I mean,
Gotta
to
be a
answer-
real smart move.
Yeah, I wouldn't be premature.
Huh?
Wouldn't do it prematurely. For me, when we're talking about, large things, way back when I first moved, I was on the Monroe Beautification Committee. And for me, it's important to have a town that is visually attractive.
Yes.
And we have some real rough spots
Mhm.
that are very eyesore-ish, that I think we need to also work on.
I agree with
I
that.
Don't
100%.
disagree.
And when you have visually attractive things,
It
that means
encourages people to
businesses,
stop.
people want to stop. Like whenever I go to I'm obsessed with small towns across Oregon, and I'm always like, oh my gosh, we have to go. Like
Right.
Brownsville.
Yep.
Just, all these small towns and then the charm that they bring with them, but they also have other businesses. So how do we balance that?
Right.
Because I agree with you. I haven't lived out here very long, but we do definitely have some spots that could be more visually appealing.
Well, part of that kind of goes to the last meeting we had with the council about, code enforcement,
Mhm.
ordinance
Right.
enforcement and stuff like that. So, but what does the city do? I think this is just part of it is the city is not proactive in my mind necessarily on taking care of its own property well or well enough. And then whose responsibility is it to take care of all the grass and the tree suckers are growing in the curb and gutter? Is that ODOT or is that the city or is that the property owner? I mean, there's lots of things like that when you talk about beautification and making an appealing town.
Keeping it
You're
nice.
just,
Mhm.
the city used to have a street sweeper. I
Mhm.
think it's still sitting over there somewhere. It's just not- it's probably worth more scrap metal than a working unit. but-
$19,000 street sweeper.
And there's definitely potential. I walk all the time, walk all the way down. And it's just, you just look out and you see how different things, and it looks like there are some businesses that are getting their plans together and opening, but there's also other things that could be tidied up.
Well, the fertilizer plant down there, that's been a very much of an eyesore.
Well, that's case in point for code enforcement.
Well, it
Ordinance
is, but
enforcement.
why did we ever let trucks just sit there and be
Right.
parked?
Right.
Leaking oil and everything else
Right.
on the environment.
Yeah.
I think if that concept of improving the city's look and feel and maximizing city property is one of the priorities, then all these specific little items can start falling under that
Mhm.
priority. But I mean, the initial vision that we did a few years ago was we knew we were going to see building, and in the last year we've seen that potential for large development. The residents at the time were saying we want to stay a small community, but we want more resources, we want a better economic, more economic, more small stores and resources so that we can spend time here. But we don't want to become a bedroom community. We want a small, so that over goal and vision is probably still the same in the community. But all these specific things then become outside. Once you have the plan and you have the goals, and you can start picking off the specifics and take action on those things. The city can't, I don't believe a city of size can do much for economic development other than utilize its property well and building really clear, concise, attractive codes that encourage people to invest.
That's right.
And talking to some of the business people here, they want.
So
they
the
want
new
more
building is,
parking.
yeah.
They want the city to invest in their property to make it worth stopping, kiosk, any kind of historical marker, any reason to stop the
Yes.
car. Those are the kind of things they're asking for, but we've always done these specifics first without the context of a really good plan. And I think that's what we're trying to do, lay the groundwork here for. Then the specifics start filling in very quickly. And start taking shape.
Well, the comp plan, I mean, we talked about that opening paragraph on the
Right.
comp plan, which basically was the vision for the city, and we spent a lot of time working on that. And I remember we would have,
To start with that.
Yeah.
That
Right.
4-page vision goals.
Right.
Are these still our goals? Are we still-
Right.
is it still the vision?
right,
Does it still fit? Are these still our priorities? We want to add or subtract?
So there would be a first sort of homework assignment for you all between now and our October meeting, is to brush off the comp plan. Especially review that opening preamble that talks about what it is we're doing. And then page through and understand what the topics are. If there's something that really interests you, dive into that, because that might be the thing you want to be the liaison for, right? Or the lead. Meet again next month, we're going to pair that new knowledge with the 19 statewide planning goals and really start to get down into the weeds of what it is we want to do. I want to review some of the things you all said just a few minutes ago, because there's some things that are worth capturing. So when you talk about getting cars to stop, that touches on our transportation system plan. So we want to revisit the transportation system plan, and we want to figure out the things that we were saying back then that are important to us. Are they still the same things that we think are important? Is there anything missing from that based on this discussion that we want to have, getting cars to stop, but also safety? Jobs. So industries that can be attracted directly on economic development. What kind of businesses do we want to see occupying these buildings right on 99? What new buildings, taller buildings might we see in our corridor, which is what that corridor is there for, over the next 20 years? The plan that we write attracts them. They're not going to come knocking on your door and say, hey, gee, what could we do with this site, right? You're going to have businesses that just wait, owners that just wait because they're not sure. They don't want to waste the time. If we tell them what they can do, we tell them what our vision is, they will, in my experience, be much more open to those discussions.
Is there a way to, I wouldn't say force people to utilize their property on the Riverside District area? It's like, somebody owns a piece of property, they got 5 years to put something on it.
So I appreciate where you're going with that. No, so we can't force people to do things. However, carrots work a lot better than sticks, and there are incentives that you can develop that incentivize a property owner to do something that we can justify, brings a benefit to the city.
Now, how much is Monroe willing to
Incentivize.
There's all kinds of subsidies. The subsidies could be a direct pass through from a parks grant, for example, for a path along the river that would go to a property owner that's willing to do it. There are so many different ways to do that, but it begins with the vision, right? Because we have to go get the grant in order to convince the property owner to do it.
I'd like to also suggest that those, what you're calling carrots can also mean just having a fruitful conversation where you point out how easy it is for this to take place, because a lot of times people have their own business, their own mindset, and they think there's a lot of blocks, you know, and they don't understand how this fits into the larger picture. But a lot of times it can be that can be a huge incentive in itself, just to understand how easy it is to get past those obstacles, and for something like that to actually take place, and that it could be a benefit for them, you know, what kind of benefits there are that are beyond just money, you know.
I completely agree with that, because if they're opening up their checkbook and, you know, writing the cost for a project with lots of commas in there, the least we can do is provide the heavy lifting that's going to help them get there faster. If they have to spin their wheels and hire a consultant and spend a bunch of time and money, that's when projects stall or stop. So I appreciate what you're saying.
Well, I know when Todd and Amy put in the long timber, they ran upon all kinds of different scenarios that just was depressing for them.
The city wasn't able to handle things in timely manners and so on.
And we were supposed to have them come in and talk to us about things, and that never happened. Remember that? But
Well, and they're the ones that own a bunch of property.
they're the ones that own a bunch of property and find out.
Yep.
Maybe if they're still under that sour grapes thing, they don't want to do anything.
I appreciate what you're saying. And let me put a pin in that, because that touches on the outreach effort to businesses. And I've got a comment on that as well.
Sure.
I wanted to touch really quick just on my list of things as I heard them was zoning and the intent behind the zoning. I think that's really critical. Let's revisit that corridor. Let's revisit what our GRA and GRB are intended to do. Let's look at those with an eye towards legislation that has passed at the state level since we implemented, in particular, those housing residential zones, but also look at commercial and industrial. And I'll be bringing in some subject matter experts to talk about those things at certain planning commission meetings so that we can make informed decisions. Outreach efforts, touching on what you just said a moment ago. I think it's an intelligent decision to not only get in front of businesses, but residents, any type of stakeholder. We want to get feedback from them, and we want to do it in a lot of different ways. So we want to give somebody the ability to come to a meeting and speak. We want to put something potentially in a newspaper. It's more challenging here because we don't have a newspaper directly, but in a newsletter, for example. We also want to do some online interactive tools. So I mentioned this before, but having a map where somebody can actually point on the map and say, I'd love it if there was a path here. I'd love it if I could see the river from this perspective right here. then also crafting your questions for that audience. So not every survey, not every outreach effort is going to hit on every single audience group. We want one that's crafted specifically towards businesses. What could we as a city be doing that would enhance your business in terms of connectivity and economic development? What do you want to see down by the river on that property you own? Because then we can take those things back here and see how they actually gel with what we're already talking about doing and feeding it back to them in a way that they're saying it to us.
Can I also suggest piggyback on that and suggest something along the lines of workshops, in-person workshops and roundtables with people in the community?
Yep.
Because I'm talking to people like 3 doors away
Mhm.
for like an hour and a half, standing on the street whenever he finds out I'm on the planning commission.
Yep.
I like working me over about gentrification and about, I mean, boom, 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 boom. And I'm saying, I don't know a lot of this stuff. I'm interested in these topics. How about we all get in a room together and actually talk about what, the correct way to develop a city and the incorrect way to develop a city. And there's one other thing when you bring up long timber, I really wanted to bring up is that along these lines, we should collaborate with Todd and Amy to use long timber as basically a prototype, because essentially they're the flagship for actually being a change agent in the city, and acknowledge that, look at the money and everything that went along with that and try to learn from what has taken place and decide what kinds of things we can kind of stimulate to create similar types of activities in the city, So, I mean, I just use that as like a direct example, because honestly, between that and the library, those are like, I think, 2 of the big catalysts that actually started to make some big changes along that
Change the look
corridor.
of Monroe. That's
Absolutely.
elevated the look.
That's right. And it
Exponentially.
sets a new bar, and it makes people start to imagine what could be done here. And then,
Well, and along with that, we need education,
Yeah.
because what people are focused on is how can you spend money for X, Y, or Z when water is my issue? And so it's like, you need to educate where funding comes for different projects, and that you're not robbing Peter to pay Paul, that,
Yeah.
I agree. I think that we need to have open communication and involve.
yeah,
um,
find a way to really
Mhm.
involve the
Right.
community.
Absolutely. So public education and outreach, right? The education of giving
Mhm.
some information, but outreach with the intent of getting some back.
Mhm.
And structuring that in a way where we do it in lots of different modes. It could be in person, it could be online, it could be workshops, it could be surveys. We want to hit every segment of the community in one way, hopefully more than one way.
When we did that, remember when we brought water and goodies and everything? I think we had, what was fewer than 20 people. I mean,
Yeah, we had events here, I know. And yeah, I think you're right. I think we have like 20 people max.
We did a pretty successful open house. Go ahead, Dan. At the
For what, Doc?
library, at the library, the
Mhm.
open house that we did down there where we had all the stuff up and people came in and spoke. So I know that Sheila and I were standing at area and we talked to all these people. They just kind of circulated through there, and there was a lot of good dialogue. And then we reused a lot of that material at the Monroe Festival for 2 years in a row. And I spoke
Mhm.
to people just on the street, and
Right.
that made a big difference in terms of, for some people, to understand a little bit better what was going on.
Absolutely. And so one of the things we'll do, my thought is really in November, in preparation for that first joint meeting coming up, is start talking about what our outreach efforts could look like, what we all kind of want to see as the different types of modes of getting in front of people. So look forward to that. The next piece that I heard was visual attractiveness and beautification. I know there are several counselors who have talked about reinvigorating the beautification committee. One of the things that I have been very much in support of, and I'm glad to have received a lot of council support on this as well, is to develop a volunteer program where we can have people on regularly scheduled dates come and help us put plants in, trim plants, make the sidewalks look nice, the kinds of things that are going to help us, particularly on 90. forward to that as well. Those are the kinds of things that this body can help work with parks on and figure out what is the kind of things we'd want a volunteer group to do. What would those things be?
That used to happen all the time.
See, I love that.
10, 12 years, my mom was.
Way, right?
But remember,
It happened all the time, and it wasn't a short amount of time, but it just ended. I think people kind of
it ended because, one of the reasons it ended was because people, I mean, we were providing planters and for the businesses, but they were responsible for watering.
Yeah, I know. I used my backhoe to put all these
And-
big concrete retainers in it.
And they said, no, no can do. It's like,
I've heard this. Yeah, I'm aware that that's an issue.
So what I remember, right, the biggest thing we do is go around, I help the sometimes sweep and clean the gutters, pull weeds out of the. It's a little thing.
Aren't
but-
you, I've heard a dirty rumor that you, David specifically, that there is some kind of like group, or you have a nonprofit or something where there's people that do work for Monroe Helper or something or other. Is it? No, okay. There was, for a while there I was working with a few people informally in doing what we were calling many hands projects. And things together. Somebody told me that, because I thought to myself, it would be really formalized.
You don't ask Bruce Wayne to be Batman, right? in a public meeting. What the heck's wrong
Public
with
said
you?
it.
We've
I'm gonna
always-
unmask it right
we've
now.
always done a lot of work. Sorry. Seeded them with a lot of money over the years to, they give out like community scholarships and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
And there's a board, Tim's on the board, he's part of that.
Uh-huh.
You're right.
I just wonder if sometimes something like that could also be associated with high school and people are encouraged to volunteer. And
Yeah.
now I'm like, and then that is an incentive for them, like, oh, I might get a scholarship. That's cool. You know, so it's
With that scholarship, it's a nonprofit.
yeah.
You have to live in the 847.
Yeah,
district.
and it's not just scholarships, it's different communities, or
Yeah.
different organizations around Monroe. I mean, the food pantry has been a recipient of.
Usually give to schools, school funding.
Mhm.
What is that?
The school.
The art in the
school.
park. and
Art in the
things like
park.
that, yeah.
Give to them and
Back to your point about.
So there's a couple of things, and this is what I've recommended to council. One of the reasons that those types of committees fall off over time is because volunteers don't always feel the love. You think
Right.
that they feel it, but they sometimes don't.
Well, they get burnt out.
Right. And so number one, making sure that you have a pipeline of people that you can call on. Number two, giving them a shout out and thanking them for what they're doing, giving stuff like little thank you, even like a water bottle. You wouldn't believe how
Simple
far that goes.
Thank you. Goes
Absolutely.
a long way.
In the philanthropic community, and you nonprofit background clearly as well, and to some extent, and you do too. And
Okay, so to further that point, what and who can do something to further incentivize the property owner?
Yeah.
Hey, we're cleaning up in front of your place. Come out and help next time.
so what I want to
You
do
know?
is as we go through this process, I'm going to be presenting you with a lot of different ways that we could go about doing those things. They range all the way from grants to fee structures with businesses. It all really depends on what we're gonna pitch in the community, but this body is gonna be the one that kind of tests them out and thinks through them a little bit clearly before we end up getting them out there. But there are multiple ways to do that, and it really depends on what works for the city. I've seen different things work in one place, they do in another.
And honestly, especially if it's a retail establishment, if you're saying we've got an incentive where we're putting, for instance, hanging baskets all the way along the thing, it's going to turn into more customers for you if you put water in it. Then they go,
Yeah.
oh yeah, that makes sense. Let's do that.
That's right, exactly
That's a
right.
simple way to put
That's
it.
a simple.
And then the last thing that I heard when I was hearing folks talk about goals and objectives was street ownership and maintenance. I want you to know that I have reached out to Public Works at the county level as well as to ODOT. Those are conversations that I will be having I know that there's some maintenance stuff that's in particular with ODOT that's been left off to the side. Same thing with county. I want to establish that rapport, that relationship. That will button up without a real big visioning process. It'll just take a little bit of time. What I want to encourage you all to do, first off, is think a little bit between now and next month about what your real goals and objectives are. If this was an opportunity to get the juices flowing, to get the ideas out there, think about it a little bit more. Read through the comprehensive plan. What do you care about? What do you think is going to matter to this city in terms of re-envisioning our future? And then secondly, look at the calendar. Let's make sure that this planning commission is comfortable with the dates that we've suggested. There may be another one in there similar to, Thanksgiving that just doesn't work. Let's flesh that out before we bring it in front of council. And then also make sure our schedules work well. And then at the end of next meeting, our intent is to nail down at a very high level what our goals are. That doesn't mean they're etched in stone. That just means that we're making some progress.
Can I ask a question? Not to call anybody out or anything, but does anybody not have a hard copy of the comp plan and the Riverside District overlay? Does anybody?
I have it.
I know.
Personally, I don't think you have.
I don't think
I
she
wasn't-
was ever given one. I don't think you were. ever given-
Oh, honey bunny, I do. I've got it.
She's got drafts on drafts.
Are you kidding me?
The 2020
That,
version,
uh,
2019 version? That,
The one that we did blood, sweat and tears over with,
okay, sounds like it.
give me a break.
So-
I'm.
Yeah, she's the newest member. I don't think
Yeah.
she.
You don't have a copy of
Kristen doesn't
anything.
have one.
So by the way, another thing that we're doing, I'm starting with council and then we're moving on to planning commission, but you all, I love the fact that you're doing this already. Somebody must maybe gave that to you before.
Bring it to us.
Rick Combaum, he set us up with.
And John always brings it.
Well, I set everybody up with a binder. And so that binder leads you from welcome to the planning commission all the way through the leaves that you add over time. Because there are policies, topics that we want to include in that binder over time. You can even hand it on to the person that succeeds you later. So look for that.
That's something to look for.
I just want to make sure that we all have the tools that we can make sure we're on the same page.
Yeah, thank you. That's a really, really good point.
And I can get a copy to her if I can come by the office, I can come by.
Yeah, let me make a note. Who would like a physical copy, a printed out copy of the comprehensive plan? Just one,
Updated at all?
not since 2019.
I've still got it.
For sure I have it.
It is also on
I'm gonna look for it.
either one of our current websites.
Oh, that's interesting. I can find it there.
It's both, it's on both of them. But you can, if you like a digital copy that you can search through, it's there.
I like it.
That's perfect. Put it in my mailbox.
Maybe illegally.
You know that though.
I know, yeah. Well, I will personally put it in the mailbox. That way you get it.
So you've all got your homework. I've got my homework for next month. Feel free to email me between now and then if there's anything else you'd like to add to this topic.
Did you want to look at the properties now?
You want to move on to that item?
Yeah.
Yeah,
How
so
much is the city involved in Chamber of Commerce? So, because when it comes to businesses,
we have the Business Association of Monroe,
I know, but how many people are involved with that?
and then there is also a Chamber of Commerce. I am so new and not informed enough to speak
The
intelligently.
chamber is the Tri-City, Tri-City
Tri-City
Chamber of
Tri-City.
Commerce.
Should I make a comment at risk of offending?
Sure.
BAM is completely worthless and they've done zero since they formed, so they're pretty worthless.
That is a hot take, man.
Anyway,
I love hot takes.
That's what
anyway,
it is.
but they've talked things to death. I mean, that is,
They made it, I think, maybe another way to say it is that they maybe are missing some of the pieces of the puzzle. They have a lot of good intentions,
they don't even have the edges.
but they
Can't
there's.
even make the puzzle.
They don't even
They
the
got one
outside. They
piece.
got a little.
got
Now,
one piece
to
in
be
the middle,
fair,
you
they
can't
made
go
a
with it.
comprehensive list of businesses.
Yeah, there's.
We have, that's a start. They made a comprehensive list of the businesses.
3 or 4 years ago.
As said, it's a start.
So to Tim's point,
Yeah.
the Chamber of Commerce, I mean, we're kind of the left out not involved. I mean, we get
We're the South
invited to
Benton
the,
County of the Chamber of Commerce. for,
The
Tri-Cities.
Tri-Cities does quite a bit.
We have a Tri-City.
Yeah.
I know that. I know Michelle Eldridge is a part of that.
Yeah.
And the
Here's what I
mayor is
wanna-
Part of that.
Absolutely.
He's quite involved with that group.
Here's what I want to say about that, y'all. Just because a very hyper-local group exists doesn't mean that we exclude any others. BAM is welcome just as much as the Tri-County and the Tri-City and whatever other organization. We want to hear from more rather than fewer.
A rising tide lifts all ships.
I like that. I like that.
And all you have to do is sit and have a glass of wine at Broadley's or if you're at, and you can talk to the owners and
Yeah.
they'll tell you what they need for economic development. And you get a glass of wine and beer.
Well, it's fine if you
Like the
bring
way
it
you
back and
think,
share it.
So on the steel, corner, just real quick,
Yes, sir.
so I know that the city council voted on the priority of all the properties already,
Oh, really?
but I don't know if that ever got, if those minutes ever got.
Never went nowhere.
They had a first and a second, and everything. They were gonna,
Oh, that was a long
the
time ago.
order that they were gonna sell the
Sell them.
properties in and everything. So are we stepping on toes by revisiting that or?
Not from any of the discussions that I've had.
Okay.
Here's what I will say. It is worth my time and absolutely important to go back for the record and see what council did. But I'm willing to bet that there were a lot of well-intentioned decisions that may not have been based on the kind of information that we would like to have in order to make those kinds of important decisions.
And some of those counselors aren't there anymore.
That's exactly right. So it's important to revisit it, if nothing else, to get the fresh opinions of our current council.
I like what John brought up at the last work session we had. And that's really not just like, oh, what can we sell and get rid of it to boost money? Really look at this, especially the property that's just right over here and really see how important it is for the future.
That's exactly
For the
right.
city to retain.
I think the initial concern was sell all of our property to fix our water plant.
Yeah,
But we never could raise enough money selling land to fix the water plant.
exactly.
So now we're gonna lose
It's a
all
drop in the bucket.
valuable assets that the city can develop
Didn't have a
later.
plan.
But you can't sell all your proproperties
I know.
for future, otherwise this body might as well dissolve.
What you're, that's exactly what he's saying.
He's
Yeah,
saying
That was
that
the argument they made before, which didn't really make sense to me.
Y'all, I've seen a sliver of land be valuable for a lift station.
Mhm.
There could be park land that's going to make a project come to fruition for families.
Almost every other meeting we have here, somebody brings up parking.
Absolutely.
Parking lots, and that's it's huge.
And so that's why I believe that this discussion should start
Yeah.
from within the planning commission, from those who have their eyes on land use first.
If nothing else, let's another set of eyes and new eyes to look at it, and then the council can at least have another tidbit of information to look at and maybe think of things differently than
Right,
it may otherwise.
because the planning commission has two functions. You are a quasi judicial body when it's time to hear a planning application where you have to make a decision. But you are also an advisory body to the city council, which ultimately makes these kinds of decisions.
And that probably makes it more of our time than the other.
Absolutely more so. So talking about city-owned properties, there are 28 properties. I am going to, in a few minutes here, get onto the computer and share my screen and let you all see how you might be able to look at some of these more in depth from your computer. But what I'm providing you right now is a map that gives you the general distribution
I kept 27.
of our properties.
There's 28,
There are 28.
something not on this list.
I don't know. I maybe it's hiding in there as a tiny one.
9, 10, 11.
I don't know. I only
There's
counted
lots of teeny little
27.
slivers on this map.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
you
really
mean on the list
testing my
itself?
eyesight capacity.
You know what?
27, yeah.
I think you're probably right, because I was looking at Excel and it starts with number 1. But number 1 is the
Yeah, the header.
header.
Yeah, there are 27 on this
Okay.
paper.
All right.
Yep, that makes sense. So I was counting 28, but one of those is the
That's-
header. So there are 27, for the record, properties that are owned by the city. The general distribution is what you see in the blue on your page. What I will be bringing to you next month when we revisit this is an understanding of where the wetlands are and where the topography is. That's going to help you kind of get yourself a little more accustomed to the kind of property we're talking about. The second page lists, as you can see, the account number, if you wanted to look it up on the assessor's site. The map and tax lot number as well for the same purpose. And you'll notice that many of these have unassigned addresses because they are undeveloped vacant land.
There's no house on them.
Yeah,
No
exactly.
business.
Nothing at all, or never
And
was.
they're not on this map, right? There's a few that are outside of the scope of this map, like the.
Oh,
like
the spring property.
Spring-
Yeah,
spring
that's
property.
not on here.
The spring that's in the middle of Niestrom's.
Springs ought to be in this.
It's in this.
Well, they're not on the map.
It's not on
But
this
it's not
map,
on the
is
map.
my point.
Unassigned.
Is it owned by the city?
It's owned by
Yeah.
the city, but it's,
Miles away from.
it's miles away from it.
Oh, I didn't zoom out far enough. Do we have more property further out?
There's two.
We have a
springs,
couple,
I
but-
think.
The city-
that are-
the city's water supply used to be on a spring, the Kyle Spring, and they've done that. spring up
Of
on the
Niestrom's
side of
property.
Seminole.
Okay.
1880s, 1890s.
Long time
They
ago.
had
And
a,
that
they
was
had a
Monroe's water
pipe that
source.
ran all the way above ground, all the way from,
When I
Cherry
moved
Creek.
here, they used to fill those little tanks up there.
Yeah, the tank farm was filled, gravity fed.
So I'll grab any other, any outliers
So nothing.
next month.
Well, we're back up to 28.
Yeah, it was 28.
29, because there's two.
There's two of them, yeah.
Well, that might be off part of this
Well,
list.
it might be on here.
Well,
Might be, it just doesn't have.
there was nothing off of Cherry Creek.
So I want to show you all,
Oh.
many of you may already be familiar with this, but I want to show you all how you can actually go and look at some of these yourself. And then when we return next month, we can talk about it more in detail then too.
Tax lot map.
Yep. So I'll kind of just start back from Google to give you the beginning. So what I did is I just went over to Google and I typed in, and I'll actually share my screen for the benefit of the public as well.
Sure, Google.
There we go.
This
There you go.
1500 Commercial Street, that's our water tank up there, 1,000,000-gallon water tank.
It's not going
We're
anywhere.
not gonna get rid of that property.
So,
Does Monroe own that finally?
I believe so, but I don't. know.
Because for a long
Swimming
time,
pool.
Benton County
make
had
it a
it.
big
that right?
dunk tank.
They didn't ever sign the deed saying they owned it, so Benton County had it.
I'm gonna check on that. Okay, so here's what I'm doing. I'm at Google and I'm just gonna type in Benton County GIS.
Yep.
And it typically is the first thing that comes up. And then I click on that right there, tax lots. And that just lands us here. Here's what I'm gonna do. This out of my way. I'm gonna come over here to tax lots. That's all those squares. That's all those properties on the page. And there's a little button down here. It's called the attribute table. And that pops this guy open on the bottom. As long as Monroe was on the screen, you can see it. That's the properties that'll show. If you zoom in, it'll cut out the properties that are outside of that window. So just make sure you're zoomed out far enough. I certainly am zoomed out far enough.
The whole county.
And then what we'll do is we'll go over to party name. That's what they mean by owner. And just sort ascending. And then typically I'll just pick a spot here and scroll on down until I get past the numbers and the A's and the B's and the C's. And you get your way all the way down to C, City of Monroe. It's a little bit further. It's funny, there's only 97,000 properties in the entire county. And Tillamook had like 150, 180,000. I guess they're a little bigger than us, maybe.
How can that
Smaller
be when the
lots.
population is,
They're just chopped up even smaller, maybe.
chopped up.
Yep. There's lots of little properties there. If I had zoomed in a little bit further, I would have had a shorter list of
Yes,
these.
shorter list.
But essentially, let me get down here just a little bit more. I'm gonna be looking for City of Monroe, which is what I did earlier today as well. It almost makes me want to zoom in, but I put so much effort into it now, I'm gonna see it through.
You're committed.
The Bs can't be that long. Lord.
You can expand that map bigger so it'll show up the actual properties.
You can zoom in.
Yeah,
I
You
can
zoom down.
absolutely zoom in. What I'm looking for is actually how to get to,
He's just showing us how to search for the city-owned property
Yep,
instead
and
of
so-
just generic.
here's another thing I can do. Here's what I did earlier. Found City Hall. Then I zoom out.
There you go.
It shows the building.
Yeah, I zoom out to the point where I know Monroe's in there. Is the other one, the other property I missed earlier, is that gonna
It's-
be in this view?
It's down south of that.
Really even
Um,
further south than that?
Cherry Creek,
Cherry Creek
On
Road.
Cherry Creek Road.
almost down by
So
Belltown Road.
southwest of the city. So you're getting you're probably within the realm.
Okay. And then, so now what I can do is scroll through here and I have a much shorter list. As you can see, I'm already well past the numbers. Okay. I am gonna be chatting with Benton County about some of the things I want to suggest they do with their GIS. Because I think they can make life a little easier. Here we are.
There's times where this site is absolutely broke also.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. You guys will see this in a moment. They show 53 properties. But it turns out it's just multiple duplicates, which should not happen
There we go.
on a database. If anybody knows anything about databases, you know that duplicates are a big no-no.
And they still show that the city has a PO box. They do.
Yes, we fixed that today. I showed this list to Dawn. Dawn says we don't use that PO box anymore. I said, would you please fix that? And so we got that done. So all I did was I clicked the first one on the list. I scroll down until I see the last one on the list. There it is. And I hit shift and click, and I've just selected all of them. And you can see up here, 52 properties, it says, but in reality,
Yeah.
a lot of those are duplicates. Anyway, what that does is it actually selects them on the screen for you. You'll see, that's how I got this map. You'll see them appear right there.
See, there's one up to the left now.
Yeah,
Got it. Yep. And so you can actually click on these and learn a little bit more information about it. Here's the really cool thing, by the way. We'll do some of this as an exercise together next month, but this is something that you can know on your own. Are you curious about the topography? Is it flat and buildable? Are you curious about wetlands? Would it work for our UGB expansion, or is there resource lands? Those layers mostly are here on the map. So you can actually go water, soil, wetlands, that's already turned on. And you can actually scroll, you can zoom right in. You can see at this property right here, we've got a whole bunch of wetlands right there.
Yeah, that's the sloughs. next to the river.
Exactly
The
right.
The old river channel.
So just as an example, so that you can begin to look at what are the properties, how big are they, where are they located? You start to zoom in, you start to learn a little bit more about wetlands and topography and other details. We'll talk a little bit more about this next month. What I want to recommend is that you all start to take note of the properties that you think are valuable for retaining. Now, the default before is let's sell them all, right? And so if the default is still let's sell it, then let's start talking about which ones we want to flip to keep and why. That would be what I recommend that this body begins to work on independently and then bring it back so that we can discuss it.
Yeah, but if you don't know the history, how are you going to know what to flip flop or sell?
So it's really not about the history. I want you to think future, right? The history could be why it's there or why we own it. But the future could be, could there be infrastructure there? Do we want to expand there? Could there be a park there?
There's property right down here by the lift station owned by Todd and Amy. And they would like to have that Cherry Creek.
Yep.
Kyle
Yep.
Springs.
Very
But
And
if
that's a-
nobody knows about that, that's history. Then
Understood. And if it's on the map, right?
map don't mean nothing if you don't know the history.
Fair enough. And that's why this group, I'm glad that you know that history, because this group can help us understand, hey, this was an idea. This is an opportunity for a swap. Here's why that works.
I vote the Kyle property, the spring up there, that 100% needs to be sold, traded,
it's
gotten rid
landlocked.
of. But I think what Dan Sheets alluded to at the last work session is there may be, you may not be able to trade. It may have.
It's
to go
actually
through
maybe easier to
sale
trade.
process.
So
It's actually.
It may be ideal to trade. So there are ORSs, the Oregon Revised Statutes that specifically state the criteria under which you're allowed to trade. It has to be a piece of property that is in value greater than what you're giving away. And it has to be deed restricted in that you can't sell it later on for a profit into the private sector. It has a dedicated public purpose. And you have to pass a resolution that states this piece of property that we want has this public purpose. What's really great about that is we can literally attach that to a grant application.
Question. Maybe don't want to open a can of worms, but in a trade process like that, what is, never mind. We'll worry about that.
Sometimes deeds come with different things that
Well, I was
makes it
thinking-
so you can't sell them or trade them.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was
Like
just
the
thinking
water
about
rights.
public notice and that.
It's like
All
the
of that
park,
has to happen.
the park up here on the hill. The city was gonna sell off the west side of the park up here. But they can't do that because the deed says it has to be used for public use. So that killed that right there.
Anybody who's ever been through a title search on their home knows that all kinds of funny things can show up
Or not.
or not. But we'll go down that road when we get there. So this is how you get to that map. That's how you search for those properties. If you'd like to stop into City Hall and just get another refresher on this, feel free to do so. I'm there every day and I'm able to help you with that. If you want to email me and ask questions about something you're looking at, I am available at all times. Please feel free to use me as a resource. And if you don't have my cell yet, I'll give it to you.
One thing regarding this, I'm very familiar with mapping this and a lot of other mapping software. And what a lot of people might find useful is on those, the layers tab, you can go over to satellite imagery
Mhm.
and that really might help you
Mhm.
see it. And I mean, I know where everything is around here intimately, but some people may not. You might be able to look at that and get a little more context of what the land looks like. You
Were
know,
we
what-
did we talk about having a walking tour?
Yes.
We did.
So that is something we'll be talking about with council at the work session. They made some recommendations. You all will be getting an email from me. That's where we left that off.
Okay.
We're setting up, I have to have your email set up finally tomorrow, your city emails. So before you leave, I would love it if you could please leave me with a personal email address, especially if you didn't receive the agenda.
But then that gets forwarded to the personal.
Yes. Exactly right.
Okay.
But I'll be setting up your personal emails and
Okay.
then,
Do you know if this map includes, are easements considered city property?
No.
Or are they different?
they're
So-
not.
So the little easements related to sewer lines or water lines may not show up. here.
Precisely right. They only should, but what's nice is we can actually get into this another time. But at the, let's see if I could do this now.
But we're not gonna do anything with easements generally anyway. We can't.
They have the assessor's map in GIS, which is nice. Not all counties have that, but you can actually see where those easements exist in the GIS system. Otherwise, you can literally just go to the tax assessor's map and pull the page and book number. and-
So all these places that have addresses, they're actually functioning for a purpose for the city right now. It's like this building, the city hall, the property across from city hall,
That used to be a building.
that used to be a building, but it still has an address.
Does.
So you can mark off about several of these. You're not gonna get rid of these.
Well, the property across from city hall, for example, we could feasibly potentially do that.
Is now, we talked about changing codes. Has that been changed to where it's now commercial?
Commercialized commercial street.
I mean, we wasted a lot of time on that.
Tell me, I'm not informed about what you're talking about.
We approved to rezone that commercial.
6th to 7th.
Really?
Yes.
The commercial street that was something that went all the way through city
I think
council too,
looking
I
at
think.
Yeah, looking at this city owned, looking
What
at
if
zoning
things
kind of
didn't
related
get-
to this would make a little great sense.
Yeah.
Look at, what do we have for industrial? What do we have? for commercial?
need to be
See an
dotted.
inventory or map like this that has
The
what
county does.
zoning on it.
So here's what I'll be doing for you guys myself, because that's one of the things that I wish the county did but doesn't, is they don't combine zoning and tax lots onto the same map. I have a GIS background, I have the tools, I'm just gonna put those layers together and show them to you so that they make sense for us. But I'll also call them and say, hey, put your zoning on this map.
So that, we did vote to rezone things, but it was never submitted to the county, but it's not rezoned.
So y'all, there's a lot of things. I was gonna save this for another meeting. There are a lot of things that this commission and the council have done with relation to land use that never got submitted to the state and never got formalized.
I'm shocked,
One of those
clutching my
things-
pearls.
One of those
Good thing you're
things
sitting down.
is the final submission of our comprehensive plan.
Really?
That's probably the biggest one.
Yes.
There are a lot of other things, and so I'm dealing with that. We're handling that.
So,
But the same thing with zoning, all of that. There's a tool called PAPA online, post amendment, post acknowledgement plan amendments. That's what they're called. Anytime you make a change to your land use code, your comprehensive plan, you have to file a PAPA. It goes through Department of Land Conservation and Development, and they're the ones who make that a final thing. The last time we filed a PAPA notice of any kind after a decision was like 2017.
Rick.
So good time to review everything.
Yes.
Even the decisions we've already made. And we may make
Oh,
different
my
ones.
gosh.
What's nice though, and I don't mean it, I mean nice in like the least nice way, but we have a moratorium, right? So I don't love the idea that we're going into that, but it does open up a big old window for this body to really take the time it needs, that most cities don't get that kind of time. You're still going through the business of daily work, right? So you actually get a nice window of time to start to look at things and get it right.
I have a proposal. I think we should call this code name Project Reset. This is the reset.
Right.
It's a good idea.
Project Reset.
Project Snafu.
Yeah.
But y'all, there's small cities all over Oregon that are in the same
Yeah,
exact
yeah.
position. I don't want you all to think like, boy, Monroe's just falling behind the pack. That is not the case. There are 36 counties in this state, 26 of them are rural, and the majority of our cities are gonna be just like us. We're gonna get there.
Well, I'm not, I have to say, just reviewing this map, it seems a lot simpler than I expected in many ways. I mean, I'm familiar with all of those properties,
Good.
but I'm not familiar as much with all the wetland stuff over here where the haunted house and stuff is. I've never really. If you're gonna tour somewhere, that would probably be the place to actually be on foot and look at, because I don't think
It's a lot of
there's,
blackberries.
now the
It's-
haunted house is outside the city limits.
Yes.
yeah.
That's okay.
not
We're
in there.
still, we still own it.
So,
So-
it's-
I would-
so is,
Love
Yeah,
for him to.
we'll
put
go
up
over
aerial
it.
imagery.
We can still go over there.
Yep.
And this lands me on my last piece of
Oh, yeah,
homework
exactly.
for y'all.
Um,
I want to ask you for a priority list, but not for the way the city council is thinking about it, for the tour. What properties do we not even go and tour to Commissioner East Ridges Point, excuse me? Does it make no sense to go to City Hall, right? I mean, for example, we can scratch that one right off the list pretty logically. Which ones should be on the list and which ones are potentially more important than others?
Well-
And if we could revisit that this next month, that'd be great.
what is
Pretty
24,800? What place is that?
So that's why I showed you how to get on the map.
Well, I know that.
Look it up. That's your homework.
You can go look it up. You can look at what's nearby it, check out the aerial.
There's,
Well, I don't know, what's your time worth?
there's three of them with a Highway 99. It's probably.
That's
the
gotta be the old-
total.
the old
Well, that's
Bell
what I was
Chambers
thinking.
property.
Yeah, there are three.
And then the
that fall
garbage
the-
dump and. It's probably got a,
Water
it's
plants
probably
all
got an
there.
address. too.
Ponds are outside of the city limits.
Yeah, and I understand that the water plant, there's the property over there that the fire department would like to use for their learn and burn stuff. Like, there's those conversations we can have. All the properties that we own, we want to look at. And if it's outside of the city, the question becomes, why do we own it? Do we want to continue owning it? Both of those questions should really be answered.
Or why they bought it in the first place.
That's it. Again, to your point about the history, that is a good question.
Yeah, because I think the only reason to sell is just because we're gonna need matching funds. When we do get these, we do start going down the project road, we're gonna have to
There
have
well,
matching
there
funds
wells,
somehow.
water wells over here.
There's one water well, but it turned out to be contaminated.
Arsenic one. You said.
Arsenic and salt water.
The one over by the Bell. Chambers.
And well, a working well.
Yeah.
Within 100 feet of the feces.
And it's
so-
right next to the property line, really.
Mm.
You know, the road that goes down to the lagoon, it's just off to the east of that. There's a building, you can see it got built way up. 'cause
And we know the Bell
Kitchen
Chambers
chamber.
property well isn't good.
What about it?
The well.
Is there water over there? Is
Bell
the
Chambers
water
property.
on the Bell Chambers property isn't any good?
No. That's why they don't use it.
But what's wrong with it? And if
It's
we
got
ever verify,
arsenic and salt
Nitrate.
water.
have we
nitrates.
verified?
Well, everything about got nitrates in it.
We're in, so Monroe is inside of the groundwater management area that ranges all the way from North Eugene up to Albany. It's 230 square miles. I did my graduate thesis on this exact issue. So I was here in Monroe back in 2016. But no, we have elevated levels of nitrate because of two issues. You have the septic tanks as well as the consolidated animal feeding operations for ag. So it's up there. We'd have to treat it if we use well water.
There's free nitrate testing this Saturday.
Whereas I had my well tested, I got none.
I was out on Holbert Lake Road, you know, I lived there for 17 years and we had high nitrates. So when my wife was pregnant the first time, we just went to drinking bottled water.
So you know about the blue baby syndrome issue.
Absolutely.
Yep.
The nitrate testing is Alpine Community Center from 2 to 6 o'clock, Saturday, September 6th. Just asking you to bring a half cup of untreated water in a clean container. So at the community center in Alpine.
But we do have the option. Actually, we used to pull groundwater as part of our public water system. I found records going back to the 1980s. And we could do that again to supplement the water that we have or even transition if we absolutely had to. But it does come with a requirement that we have to get it below 7 parts per million in order to produce it legally. And that's expensive to do.
From well water or groundwater?
Yeah, it's very difficult because really your only option is to dilute it. The solution to dilution is pollution in a lot of cases, and that's the only one.
What's classified as groundwater? The depth? Is that the
Oh, I
depth
mean,
of
as
the
far
water?
down as the water table is, and that's where you start to call in the hydro engineers. I don't know anything about that.
Because my well out there was 28 feet deep.
Is that right? I do know that it goes as far as the water goes, like the nitrates and are just uniformly distributing.
Mine's 280.
All varies.
280.
But my slack is 11 and 23.
Wow.
Okay, where are we at now?
Okay, so that was the city-owned properties. Any other questions on that? Aircraft prison, I turn it back to you.
All right, I think we've got everyone, they review their comp plans and the Riverside District overlay and how they communicate. And we're also going to be, and to his point, if there's something you're passionate about, you feel you have the skills or want to develop the skills in a particular area, whether it's the building codes, whether it's part of the comp plan or whatever. I mean, we're, you know, some of you have got, John's got a great deal of experience. Not sure what she's good for, but
We're still trying to figure that out.
Who's that?
but I mean, Linda's obviously got a beautification background, and I don't know where your passion's at, but parks might be a good fit for you because she said teenage boys in the
I'm gonna
house.
try my best. I am the Booster Club president right now. I am the project graduation president. I am doing this and I'm teaching full time.
Go
So
get
I
go
am
get a
going to try really
massage.
hard, but
Massage has just opened up.
not doing enough.
Mondays are still gonna be okay for you?
I think as well, at the first Monday of the month.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
If we can
Yeah.
kind of try and keep our
Yep.
meetings to the first
Yeah.
Mondays of the month.
Yes,
Yeah.
the only reason it was today is the holiday.
right.
Yep.
You changed.
Tuesdays were hard.
How much of this
Tuesdays are hard in their sporting event.
park
right?
up here past the library that goes from Ash Street all the way to Cemetery Road? How much of that can be used and what can it be used for? We can put a parking space in there, use it for park. What can we use it for?
Well,
I
the
mean-
city doesn't own it.
Well,
It's, we're leasing it.
city's leasing it
The
for a
county.
buck for 100 years.
Right. So can it be developed is what you're asking?
You can't really.
Well, what can we
build it.
put on it?
There's actually quite a bit that you could do.
There's supposed to be a train at one time.
So
Well,
what I
falls
do
under-
know is that there's some connectivity, some walkability, biking. There's a lot of stuff that people have talked about. Let's revisit that. Let's start talking about that a little bit more specifically when we start getting with the Parks Committee. And they start making recommendations, because I know that there were some plans that were developed years ago that did involve a portion or some of that property over there. Brush that off and see what it says.
Well, John got the walking path all completed, but then there was talk about going from Alpine Cutoff to Alpine Road.
Oh.
that kind of scares me right there at Alpine Cutoff because all the traffic right there, but
Can I,
whatever happened with
that
that?
we had worked with the county to figure a way to interface that path into the shoulder. So there would have been a split before, because you couldn't cross right there. If you wanted to cross the road, you had to go up, so many 100 feet from the intersection, and then make a crosswalk. across.
can I tell you, maybe, I don't know if you guys do a lot of walking over there, but,
As little as possible time.
I can tell you where I walk all the time, and I have a safe path, but it's kind of a little bit esoteric, which is through the cemetery. The back corner of the cemetery fence is open, and you can get to Shady Oak through that little fence. So if you just hang a left there, there's a safe pedestrian pathway through the cemetery, and then you can just connect right up onto Shady Oak, and then
Get you on.
Go up-
Fairwood-
go up,
Fairwood Avenue.
cut off or whatever. You don't have to go to the Alpine Cutoff, so you can go Orchard Tract or anything you want back there. But
I mean,
I
Alpine
dump you
Cutoff.
on Fairwood.
what's that?
I dump you on Fairwood.
Is that the little spur that comes at
Yeah.
that Shady Oak butts into?
Yeah.
Then that must be what it is, because it just turns into a grassy easement into that great big huge
Electric
property.
company. That's-
But
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 I
it's a-
think what's her name? Sue Benningham might know that.
I was gonna say in the future, when we think about parks or whatever, I don't know if there's some way for us to orient or create a little bit more formalized pedestrian path and work with whoever. There's a volunteer group that organizes the cemetery, right? And it could be that's just like
Used to
a
be
little
George
bit of a
Doherty
path along the
took care of
edge
it.
of it
Who
or
does that now?
something that
Yeah.
connects up.
I'm the
Are you the
cemetery
guy?
board
Are you the guy?
president now, so.
Really?
And by the way, I do not
Let
throw
them rest
trash
in
around. Do
peace.
not come after me, Tim.
Well, I'm putting it on the list.
Let's talk.
Don't forget the.
That's right, a little silent age.
Like that, does it exist in the comp plan, the transportation system plan, or the parks master plan? And if it doesn't, why not? And it should probably, we should investigate that further. But if it is there, let's see what it says.
So the parks plan has walking
It should.
part in it.
Well, and the transfer, when was this? The latest the transportation system plan has
19.
has marked, at the time, marked walking multimodal trails throughout
Great.
the city. So it doesn't have that particular one, it has what was talked about at the time.
I would say that in general, my review of those plans are that they definitely start to give the outlines of what an idea of a plan is, but oftentimes are lacking resolution and
Absolutely.
lacking detail, specifics. So
Sometimes I could.
That's what we are gonna do.
Yeah. I
There's a
think
lot of
that's
things that just
good.
need to get over the finish
Just
line
want the
be a little bit
framework.
more delineated. I
Yep.
think. Yeah.
and make sure everything agrees with one another. Your comp plan, your land use code, your parks plan, your system transportation, all of it really must agree. If there's pieces that are mismatching, or this one says this project and that one says that project, that's what we gotta fix.
All right. Anything else?
Just if you guys have any comments,
Anybody have any other comments? We're typically pretty vocal.
There are 3 new businesses that have particularly wonderful benefits for our residents. A massage, a manicure pedicure, and she has a sink that she is looking to rent for hairdresser,
Where's this?
right by
Oh, right.
Yeah.
the filling station, gas station.
Yeah, they're doing quite a good job over there too.
Oh, it
I
looks
mean,
so good.
Brady.
Yeah, they're doing a really good job over there.
Phenomenal pedicure. Great pedicure.
those are all things that my wife would like. See, I'm looking forward to the beer station.
Good
That's gonna
discount.
be.
I get a discount. I'll just take a foot soaking, please.
That too, yeah,
One,
you get a half
one.
price deal.
Singular.
2 for the price of one.
mention
One for
very
the price of
quickly.
half.
Have on the agenda for this month, which I think we will. do this month, But reviewing our planning applications and updating them. I was gonna ask you all to review them. Right off one chunk at a time. Let's do what we have for this month and then revisit that in October. Does that work for y'all?
Yeah, because I don't know. We've talked that to death and I don't know that we have anything to add. Really.
Good. Okay, then I will come forward with some recommendations. I was gonna hear from you first and then do that kind of process. If you've already been through that, I'm just gonna tell you what I think needs to be done because I'm already there, if that's okay with you all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, I have one other comment before we break. What was the name of the Philomath planner guy?
Oh,
Good.
Michael.
Michael.
Yeah, so one thing that we had talked about with him that I'm not sure I've seen again was there was gonna be like an ongoing status list of all of the open projects
Projects,
in the city and their status, if they're blocked, why they're blocked, who's gotta fix what, so
Right.
and that it was gonna be somehow even publicly visible to us. There's questions about like what kinds of, we all have to be, we all have to know the same information or something. I remember that.
Got partially completed.
Yeah.
There are things that need to get finished for
Mhm.
that list. It does exist.
Yeah,
I'm making some changes and some updates that are going to help you.
okay.
Will that be included in the Teams page?
It'll actually be its own separate site that you can go to. Yeah, that'll be its own separate
Mhm.
development page that you can go to.
Mhm.
At minimum, beginning next week, once you all have your email addresses, you'll be able to see the spreadsheet. But then we'll have the actual
Okay.
visual tool for you ready in the near future.
Yeah, this is just a spreadsheet's all that's required, really.
Yeah.
Just that's,
So access all the planning documents on the city, is it the new city website or the older one?
Both websites are still there
Okay.
and whatever your favorite way to get to them was still exists.
All right.
A quick update, that should actually be done quicker than the end of October. They're looking to expedite the timeline for us on that website, which is very nice. And the last thing I'll mention, I just need to let this body know as part of its ongoing business with the PNDI application, I deemed that incomplete within the 30-day time frame required. There are a number of pieces that they did not submit, rather. One is called a tentative plan, and it really tells us what your water consumption is going to be, your sewer consumption, where is it?
and was this so that they could start doing some grading and stuff?
They could do that now.
They can still do that right
They
now.
can, they absolutely have the right to go ahead and do their grading and pre-development.
But they just haven't gotten into it yet.
Is that-
Yep, and that's federal. They got their wetland permit, they got. Coming up soon. They don't fill.
Doing that work, so,
It's gonna be probably soon.
okay.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate 100%.
Medal. Let's give ourselves a.
Everybody.
If you have not been getting emails from me,
How
if
about a
you have
firm
not been getting
handshake?
emails from me, please come leave me your personal email address so I can send you your new city email.
We got new city email?
I have been getting emails, but they're